on our evening of education. We want to welcome you to our Alzheimer's Society event, and it's called Understanding Communication Changes Along the Dementia Journey, featuring our guest presenters, Claire Putz, Reid Stewart, and Annie Weishaupt. My name is Karen Marcinkiw, and I'm a registered nurse and a program manager for the Programs and Services team for the Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan. As we gather here today, I acknowledge that I'm joining you from Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. I live in Warman. The people of the Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan are privileged to live and work across the traditionally sacred land we now know as Saskatchewan. We recognize the legacy and enduring presence of the Cree, Dakota, Dene, Nakota, Lakota, Saulteaux, and Métis people, who are the original stewards of the rolling hills, rushing rivers, and living sky we all share today. As an organization, we acknowledge the harms of the past and how Indigenous people are still impacted by the process of colonialism. Through education, partnerships, and collective action, we commit to honoring our relationship with the land, our treaties, and each other as we journey towards reconciliation. Before we begin, I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping items. Thank you to our supporting sponsors, SaskTel Telcare and SGI. The presentation tonight will be recorded. And please know that only the presenters on the screen are being shown on the screen. As participants, your faces and names will not be shown on the screen and you'll all be muted. If any attendees would like closed captioning, we have enabled it, I believe, and you can select it at the bottom of the screen. And following tonight, an email will be sent to you in the next day or so with a short participant evaluation survey. There will be a PowerPoint slide deck of Annie's presentation and links to education resources. And during the presentation tonight, you can type your questions for the presenters into the Q&A part, link that's on your screen. We will have a brief question period at the end of the presentation where I will ask the questions to the presenters and that have been typed in. And just remember to keep your questions relevant to tonight's presentation. We won't be addressing any personal questions or giving personal advice. So just remember that. And I just want to really welcome our presenters tonight and introduce them to you. So again, we have Claire Putz, we have Reid Stewart, and we have Annie Weishaupt. And we are going to start now. So first, we're going to start with Annie. So I think now, Claire and Reid, you can probably turn off your videos and I'll just introduce you briefly, Annie. And there we go. So Annie, she's an enthusiastic speech language pathologist who has worked with people of all ages through her career. She has found her true passion working with older adults within the Geriatric Evaluation and Management program, so GEM, at Saskatoon City Hospital over the last few years. She enjoys getting to work with families and patients to optimize their quality of life through meaningful communication. And welcome, Annie.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that intro. We'll get started right away here. I cannot see people, so if you can't hear me or if any technical issues come up, please just let me know, Karen. So perfect. So yes, today we're talking about, awesome. Understanding communication changes along the dementia journey. And tonight I really want to focus on how can we continue to connect with each other. So I'm really, really excited about tonight. I'm really passionate about the importance of communication through all stages of dementia. Karen did a lovely land acknowledgement. I'm in Saskatoon right now on Treaty 6 as well. So tonight, my presentation is going to go through what is communication. We're going to talk about how brain changes, specifically dementia, impacts communication. What can we do to try and optimize people's communication? And we'll be looking at the acronym MESSAGE, We'll talk about some meaningful activities and connections and ways to use these strategies from the MESSAGE acronym. And then we'll do questions at the very end. So first of all, what is communication? So really, it's any exchange of information, either verbally, so speaking, or non-verbally. So this can include speaking to other people, writing or reading up notes or articles, our facial expressions. So if you think about me talking like this versus me talking like this, how much that can communicate if I'm excited or angry. Also drawing, so drawing pictures, maps, using gestures or pointing, typing. And really, when we think about communication, we have to remember it's not always about what we say, but how we say it. So our body language, if I have my arms crossed versus my arms open, what does that say? My tone of voice or volume, how quickly I'm speaking. Do I feel like I'm in a rush? Do I feel like I have time to be here? And also the proximity, even thinking about yelling at someone who's in the kitchen to get their attention versus walking over there and talking to them. So really, there's a lot that goes into communication. So what makes communication successful? Really, we need to understand and hear what others are saying to us. And we need the person we're talking to understand what we're saying. And then hopefully we're both talking about the same thing and are on the same topic. So tonight, when we think about communication, we're going to be thinking more about the language side of things. Those unwritten rules of really how we communicate verbally and non-verbally. And we're not focusing too much on speech, even though that's a large part of communication, but that's more about how we actually pronounce and say the words we want to say. So tonight we're focusing more on language. And really, communication is the way that we share our thoughts, our feelings, our opinions. We tell stories and jokes, and it's really what makes us human. So, communication and brain changes. Anytime there's a brain injury, we're always looking at how has communication changed, and that could be due to something like a stroke, aging in general, mild cognitive impairment, dementia, which we're going to focus on tonight, or a combination of all of these things. So if someone has dementia and we're thinking about communications getting trickier, that can be due to receptive language, or the understanding of language is something they're struggling with. So maybe someone's struggling to follow instructions, struggling to comprehend what they're reading in a recipe or in a text message, difficulty just following a conversation with multiple people. So anything where we're trying to understand something or information that's coming into us. Some people have trouble expressing or using that language. So being able to tell their stories, tell a joke, write something. And then there's also that social communication. So understanding that in a conversation, there's turn taking. I ask a question, you answer. You comment on something, I reply. And really how this impacts someone throughout their dementia journey can look different at different stages. So in the early stages of dementia, people might find they have word finding difficulties. That tip of the tongue, it's just right there, but they can't find it. People might notice that you take longer to reply to questions or answers, or need a little bit more time to totally understand that joke. And there might be lots of self-correction. So you're aware that it's hard to find that word, or you're saying dog instead of cat, but you knew that wasn't totally right. In the middle stages, you might notice stories or questions need to be repeated. And lots of the time, these questions that are asked often or stories that are told often, they're very important to that person. They're something either about an appointment that they know is coming up and they need to go to, or it's a story from their past that really defines them as a person. There could be difficulty organizing words or ideas. So some people might find they're losing their train of thought, or they're telling a story but get lost a little bit and are almost telling two stories in one. People might need instructions or questions repeated or broken down into single steps. And then in the later stages, often naming is more impaired. There's difficulty understanding even those broken up steps. And you might notice people withdraw more from communicating. So maybe even that social communication of a smile back and forth or answering that question back and forth isn't working how it used to. So what can we do about that? And really, often when I'm talking to patients or families, I say it's really all about making sure we're on the same topic. Even if you are having trouble thinking of a word, it's not always about getting that exact word, as long as we all know what we're talking about. So if we say, oh, that favorite restaurant we have, we go there every year for our birthday, they serve pizza, I always get this meal. And maybe the person you're talking to says, yes, I know, I love it when we go there too. It doesn't really matter what the name of the restaurant is, as long as we both know we're talking about the same thing. So really, tonight I am focusing on that message getting across and back and forth. So let's jump in. So when we're supporting someone with dementia to make sure we're optimizing their communication, the first thing we want to think about is maximizing attention. So this looks like attracting someone's attention before you speak. So instead of saying, what do you want to do today, Sally? Switching that and saying, Sally, making sure Sally's looking at you, you have their attention. What do you want to do today? So lots of the times using that name first can help get that attention. Keep in mind the environment and trying to avoid distractions. If you walk in somewhere and the TV's on and there's multiple conversations going on, it's really loud or there's even a fan going, keep in mind that that can pull people's attention. So turning off the TV, turning off the fan if that's possible, trying to just have one person talk at a time in group settings, all of that can help maximize that attention. A big reminder, which sounds so easy, but I know it's not, is making sure people have their hearing aids in, are wearing their glasses, and really making sure that the hearing and vision is optimized as well, because that's just going to help that communication so much more if people can actually hear you and don't have to spend all that brain power trying to put together if you said bat or mat. Okay, so maximizing attention. E in our message is expression and body language. So I talked about before that it's not always about what we say, but how we say it. So as the person communicating with someone with dementia, trying to stay relaxed and calm. That can look like using a solid tone of voice. It can look like allowing pauses. It can look like keeping your volume the same. All of those things are going to bring a calming presence, which will hopefully help calm the person with dementia. Showing expression and body language to show interest in what someone's talking about, nodding along, asking questions, even just making sure you're keeping that eye contact, giving a smile during a joke or a little nudge. All of those things are ways that we communicate what we're thinking. So making sure we're showing that interest, staying calm and relaxed. S is a little bit of a cheat. It's keep it simple. So using short, simple sentences with familiar words. Now, this doesn't mean we need to just talk in 3-word sentences and that's it. It's more about thinking about all the information you want to share and how can we chunk that a little bit. So instead of asking, how did you sleep last night? Did you wake up a lot? What time did you wake up? We can break that down a little bit. How did you sleep that night? Oh, not that good. Why is that? Oh, did you wake up a lot? So trying to break up that communication to simplify it a little bit. So we just have that one question or one topic we're looking at. With that, sometimes those open-ended questions, how did you sleep last night? How many times did you wake up? Can be overwhelming. So offering those choices simplifies them a little bit. Last night, did you have a good sleep? No. And then you could ask, did you wake up a lot or was it hard to fall asleep? So giving those options. Ways to keep it simple so that we're really optimizing how much information we can get. Sometimes if we ask a question, oh, why did you wake up? I don't know. Now we've kind of cut off that communication. So providing those options can open it up, get us more information, keep that conversation, connection, and communication going. Our next S is really supporting the conversation. So a lot of times I provide strategies to families, but at the end I say, really, the main point is you need to be patient, give that time, be a good listener. So watch out for different things, listen to what people are actually saying, and be understanding. So a big part of being a good communicator is understanding that you do need to provide that support, understanding that someone with dementia maybe isn't communicating or telling stories how they used to. So ways that we can support this conversation really are giving the person with dementia time to respond. If we think about how much goes into us actually hearing something, it traveling through our brain, us comprehending that, deciding what to say next, us sending that signal to our mouth, that's a lot of steps and it's very complex. So I often tell families, even wait 10 seconds. That was 10 seconds there. And it felt long, but sometimes people need that time to really comprehend and respond. The other way to support conversation is help people find the words they want to say. So word finding, that tip of the tongue, it's very, very common. So asking questions and encouraging people to describe the words. Tell me more about it. What does it look like? Where would I find it? And sometimes even bringing those personal connections in. Often you know this person very well. So you know, okay, is it something at the lake or is it at home? Is it a place we've been or we've never been? Asking those questions and using that information you already have. We can also support by repeating what was understood and then rephrasing. So sometimes if someone's telling a story and you're getting a little lost in it, it's okay to say, okay, let's pause. You told me you went to the doctor and that it went well, and then you came home. I don't know what happened next. So repeating what you already know so that you can both kind of reset, be on that same page, and figure out where that communication breakdown went. Even repeating that same main point. Okay, we're talking about your doctor's appointment. Maybe as you talk more, you might say, so when you went to the doctor, everything went well. So just repeating and providing those reminders. Because really, we want to remind more than test. Instead of asking those questions, what happened? Where did you go? What's next on your calendar? Let's work together. Let's bring out your calendar and see what you did that day. Let's remind people, oh, yes, last weekend we went to Smitty's for breakfast, instead of asking, where did we go last weekend? We know memory can be really a struggle for people with dementia. And so providing that support rather than testing is what we want to do to optimize communication. Providing visual aids. I am such a hand talker. And really, when we think about it, if we're able to say something and also show something, that gives people two ways to understand it. So using gestures or actions. So if you're asking like, was last night good or not so good? Do you want to sit right here or should we go for a walk? Even those little gestures provide a few more clues or cues to people about what you're asking. Try and use objects in the room too. Okay, would you like a glass of water? And hold up a glass. Taking pictures. Who is this person? Pointing to that picture so that you can provide that kind of visual cue of who we're talking about, how they're related to you, and give that context. Also writing down those main points. This can be a really helpful strategy, especially if someone is hard of hearing. So if you're asking someone about their day, even saying like, how did it go yesterday? Writing the word yesterday. Did you end up going to the mall or did you go to the grocery store? So writing mall, grocery. Providing those few key words can help people hear better and understand what you're saying, but they also give a reference point to go back to. Oh yes, we're talking about yesterday. We're talking about when you went out. Did you go to the mall or the grocery store? So all those visual cues, just like the body language, can provide a lot of information. So when I said before, there's really 3 things to remember when we're talking to someone with dementia, that being be patient, be understanding, and be a good listener. Really being a good listener means making sure we're getting their message. So as much as we use little subtle gestures and facial expressions, this is when we really need to listen. We need to watch for little changes to help work out the meaning of something. People can say the word even wow, and it can mean like, wow, I'm not into that. Wow, that's amazing. Wow, as in, I'm not interested. So that tone of voice, the expressions, using eyes, all of that gives more information. As well, pay attention to the behaviors, nonverbal messages. Is someone not making eye contact with you? Are they looking off into space? Do they have their arms closed or kind of are arms crossed and eyes closed? Maybe that's their way of telling you, this isn't the best time for me right now. People often have good days and bad days. So making sure we're watching for that as well. On a bad day, maybe not the best time to make lots of decisions, have big conversations. On a good day, that might be a good time to get some different things done, go to the store, talk about that, make a plan. And our E in message is encourage and engage in communication and connection. So we know that the more socially active people are, the better their brain health is. So really trying to engage your loved ones in communication, whatever that looks like. It can look like a one-on-one conversation. It can look like taking them out for lunch or to the mall, just even to people watch and talk about something else. We want to try and focus on interesting or familiar topics. So similar to how before we were talking about remind instead of test. Instead of testing, asking, what did you do last week? Asking, oh, remember when we used to always go to Walmart? And now we can talk about different topics. Walmart's not the most interesting topic, so that was not a great example. But talking about, oh, okay, you used to like to go fishing. So instead of asking, when was the last time you went fishing? When did you do this? How many fish did you catch? Reminding about that time so that then we can just talk about those memories. And really providing those opportunities, encouraging others to reach out by phone or in person so that people can continue those communication connections. So that was our message acronym, and that's lots of great strategies. I do like to end it with just saying again, being patient, being a good listener, and being understanding. Often those are kind of the 3 pillars and the best way to get your message in and get their message out to make sure we still have that connection. So some ideas for meaningful activities and connections. So some activities could be doing past or new hobbies, interests, or activities. Sometimes the best way to do this with a person with dementia is breaking them down step by step. So maybe someone likes to bake. Okay, I got out the sugar and the butter. I want you to cream that together. While they're doing that, maybe you're measuring out the flour. Okay, next I want you to measure that flour. So instead of reading that whole recipe, we're providing step by step and we're doing it together. Another way to modify that is you buy the packaged like muffin package. And for that, you add water and eggs. Okay, we're still making muffins, we're still doing an activity together, and we still get to enjoy something after, but we're just adapting and modifying what that looks like. Other activities could be playing games. Even a simple card game or board game can be modified. So maybe we don't have the time restraints anymore. Like you're playing charades, instead of everyone getting a minute, we just let everyone take the time they need to be able to act out their movie or TV show. Doing word searches or crosswords. Even adult coloring. It's amazing. I sometimes sit with patients and we color, and it's amazing the stories that come out when we're both just have our head down and are kind of mindlessly coloring, because it doesn't take too much effort to color within those lines. So doing things like reading, and that could be you reading to them or them reading to you, or you both reading separately. Even just going for a walk. Again, it's amazing once you get outside or into a hallway and just see something new, how much more communication just sparks from that. Even playing games on your tablet or phone, doing a puzzle, are all great activities. And what I like about a lot of those activities is that communication's not the main thing. You don't always need that back and forth. Those activities you can still do together and have that connection, but that doesn't need to have all the focus on communicating, when sometimes that can be really tricky for someone with dementia. Other activities to try is creating memory books. So a lot of the times those long-term memories from childhood, those are easier to recall than the short-term memories. So making a book about those important accomplishments, when they graduated school or had their first children or the trips they went on, those stories that people like to tell, putting those all in a book with pictures and little descriptions, because that's a nice shared activity to make together. And then it's a great thing to look at together going forward. It's also a nice opportunity if someone comes, if there's other workers or friends that come, saying, okay, just to get to know Sally, look through that book together. She'll tell you stories. You'll get to know her a little bit more. It's kind of a nice icebreaker. If crafting and making a book isn't really an interest to people, even just reminiscing about those old times, the pets you've had, the concerts you've been to, the awards you've won, all of that is great information. It connects people, gets people communicating. If something like that is of interest and you're looking at places to start, the Alzheimer Society has a lovely conversation starter sample page. So the links are there, and you have my slides, I believe. So there's a shorter version and a longer version. And it's just a nice way to talk about, in the past, what did you like to do? What do you not like or not like to do? Who knows you best and how do you know them? So those kind of conversations, again, if someone comes in and they're meeting then they kind of have a starting point. So with these activities, making sure you're just trying to do one of them at a time, creating that routine within the activity. So every time we come, we go for a walk, and that's kind of a nice break for everyone. Monitoring for those on and off times. If we're having a good day, great time to go for a walk, do an activity. If we're not having a great day, maybe or it's raining out or something, that's a nice time to color a little bit, play on a tablet or phone, and just enjoying each other's company that way. And really remembering with a lot of these activities, communication isn't always needed to still have that connection. And sometimes just being there and having your presence there can be enough. So for message, we want to maximize that attention. Keep in mind our expression and our body language. Try to keep it simple. As the person caring for someone with dementia, supporting that conversation. Trying to use visual aids so we have someone hearing and seeing. Making sure we're working on getting their message and being a good detective and good listener with that. And really continuing to encourage and engage in that communication. The Alzheimer's Society has some really, really great handouts that I provide to people and point to people often. So we have our 5 communication tips for people living with dementia. And then we also have the communication resource. And this is a really good resource that goes through lots of similar information we talked about today. So about how do we communicate, what is dementia, and how does it impact communication? And then we will leave questions for the end. That's the end of my portion of tonight. So thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you very much, Annie. That's great. And the resources you mentioned, I will also include the links in the evaluation email that will come out in the next day or 2 for people as well. So
perfect. Thanks, Karen.
Great. Okay. Annie, are you able to stop screen sharing there? Yep, perfect. Okay. Now, everyone, if you want a quick stretch, we're going to change presenters now. And then I'll just tell you about our next presenter, Claire, and Claire, maybe you want to pop up your video for a second, your camera, so we can see you. There you are. Perfect. So I just wanted to introduce you and everyone to be able to see you, Claire, and then we'll show your presentation. So while people are stretching, I'll tell everyone a little bit about you, Claire. So Claire Putz was born on August 3rd, 1955 in Lestock, Saskatchewan. I'm just going to move my notes in front of me here. There we go. And at the age of, oops, hold on. At the age of 4, her family relocated to Regina, where she spent her formative years. She grew up in a bustling household with 5 siblings. The one tragically passed away at the young age of 19. Her educational journey began at St. Michael's School, followed by Miller High School. And after school, she embarked on a diverse career path. She started as a hairdresser's assistant before transitioning to roles such as an X-ray porter at Pasqua Hospital and a coder for the Saskatchewan Finance. After the birth of her second child, she decided to open a home daycare. This decision allowed her to balance work and family life while nurturing young minds. Driven by her passion for caregiving, she pursued further education to become a home health aide. This role not only provided her with the opportunity to support seniors in their homes, but also enriched her life with meaningful connections and valuable experiences. In 1976, she married her husband, Don, whom she met on a blind date. Together, they raised 2 daughters, Stacy and Amanda, while also enjoying family camping trips across Western Canada and the Northern United States. As their daughters grew older, they continued their adventures, trading tents for a small A-frame trailer and exploring warm destinations like Mexico, the Dominican Republic, and Costa Rica. Claire and Don have been blessed with 3 handsome grandsons, Logan, who is 18, Jake, 16, and Cade, who is 10. And despite facing multiple health challenges over the years, including a diagnosis of Alzheimer's and possibly Parkinson's disease, Claire remains resilient and optimistic. She finds comfort and support through the Alzheimer Society Early Stages Support Group, where she continues to learn and connect with others facing similar journeys. She believes in the determination to live life to the fullest, even in the face of adversity. And welcome to Claire. So right now we're going to have Carly help us out here. Claire and I will turn off our video now, and then Carly is going to play a couple of video clips from Claire. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Claire Putz, and I have Alzheimer's. I was born in Lestock, Saskatchewan, and I have been there for 4 years, and we moved to Regina. I am born from 2 parents who are French Canadian, and that was my first language until we moved to the city. And we moved to Regina when I was 4. And then everything started. I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit jittery. Okay. My education started at St. Michael's School, and then I went to Miller High School. And then I ended up with a lot of diverse jobs. And one of them was in high school. I was a hairdresser assistant, so I shampooed hair all day, which was fun, which just gave me a little bit of spending money. And then I went on and finished high school, and then I went to work as an X-ray porter, and from X-ray porters all the way down to being at the government and putting pay codes on forms. And then I had started having a family. And after I had my second child, it was very difficult to make ends meet because I was paying my babysitter more than I was making. So anyway, I went on to babysit. And this way I got half the earnings of the parents that I was babysitting for. So it paid for itself. So when I was doing that, I decided, well, I'm going to take a course and see if I could carry on, because one of the things that I've seen is being a home health aide. And I thought, well, gee, that sounds like a really interesting job. So that's what I did. I took my classes and I passed with flying colors, and I started my journey, and I just loved my job. So then it's kind of like deja vu, because here I am. I'm one of those clients, but I'm able to take care of myself, which is good. And I've been married for a very long time. We were married in 1976. Yeah, 1976, we got married in October. And October is my beautiful time of year because of the leaves changing colors, and I just loved running through the leaves and stuff. So then after retiring, we loved going camping and traveling, and it was wonderful. So anyway, despite my health challenges, I decided that I would just carry on. And then when I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was last year, and it was a little bit of a blow, but I thought, I'm not going to let anything knock me right down. And I had choices to make, and I made them. And then my husband agreed with them and stuff like that. But I believe that in the face of diversity, you just roll up your sleeves and punch back. And that's my story for my life story. And the communication changes. Oh my gosh. I knew there was something wrong with me because I would be talking in mid-sentence and then I'd stop and I thought, what was I talking about? And it started off like that. And I thought, oh, well. So then when it came back, well, I couldn't interrupt people. But that's what I ended up becoming, a butter-inner, because I had to say it right away or else I'd forget about it again. And I thought, well, geez, I'm turning into an old lady. I just thought, okay. And then one time I was driving and then I just was wondering, well, gee, where am I going? And that was scary. And I thought, okay, now it's time to go and see my doctor. And she was a young doctor, so she was on maternity leave when my MRI came in. But when I went to see her, and I says, okay, something is going on here because my memory is not as good as it used to be, and things like that. So anyhow, I saw her, and then she's seen my MRI, and she says, "Oh, okay, you don't just have what do they call it?" She says, "You do have Alzheimer's, and this is why." And she showed me where my brain was starting to shrink, and I thought, okay, well, that's my thing I have to follow, so that's no problem. One thing I'd like to mention, being a home health aide, a little tip for home care providers or people around them, when the people say, well, I have Alzheimer's, don't say, oh, I'm sorry or whatever. It just is what it is. But when they forget things, don't say, well, I just told you that. Because when I didn't know at first, my husband would tell me that every once in a while, I just told you. And I says, I forgot, I'm sorry. and then it made me feel like I shouldn't talk at all. And then my sister said, now go ahead and talk. I says, if you get repetitive, well, we'll hear it twice, no problem. So when I was going to some clients who had that ability of Alzheimer's, it was nice because I didn't have to worry about what I was going to talk about. I just let them talk because they needed to talk, and that's fine. But when it came to me, if people did that, I just shut down. If they told me, well, you said that already. And then so I'll just be quiet and not say anything. And that's not a way to live.
Thank you very much, Claire. You did a great job. And so now we have our final presenter. We have Reid Stewart. And so you can take another stretch, everybody. I'm going to introduce him, and then it might just take me a minute to get the presentation up and ready. But I would love to introduce Reid, and thank you for being here with us as well. Reid Stewart is a retired educator with over 32 years of experience. His perspectives have been shaped by his decades of work with Indigenous students, their families, and communities. Reid lived in El Salvador when he was 19, and he has traveled extensively throughout Latin America, parts of Eastern Africa, and Norway. He's the primary caregiver for his mother, Audrey, and ensures she is kept active with long walks and drives daily. While this leaves him little free time, he does enjoy running on the treadmill, swimming, and reading. Reid enjoys all food with a particular affinity for spicier South Asian meals. So welcome, Reid, and I'll just take a minute to get your presentation ready.
Hello, my name is Reid Stewart, and I'm
Yeah, just 1 minute, Reid. I'm just going to get it up on the screen, and then I'll give you the go ahead, okay?
Okay. Well,
just
that's
a
fine.
moment.
Oh, good. Hello, my name is Reid Stewart, and I'm pleased to be here with you tonight to share a little bit about my dementia journey with my mom, Audrey. Next slide. Oh, next slide. Yeah, good. Dedication. I would like to dedicate this presentation to 4 very special people. 2 Cree elders, Alex and Josephine Kennedy from Little Pine First Nation, who have taught me so much about living well and the importance of prayer in our life. Next slide. My nephew, Nathan Reese, who has had a special relationship with my mom since he was a child, and now, after choosing to live with my mom and I for the last 6 months, continues to bring joy and happiness into my mom's life every single morning, afternoon, and evening. Next slide. Finally, Katrina Prescott, a caregiving consultant who has been a constant source of support and encouragement from the very beginning of this journey. Katrina and her mom, Kathy, walked the journey of young onset dementia together for several years. Kathy passed away 2 years ago at home, which was what both of them wished for. Next slide. Let me start my presentation by stating how proud and honored I am to be a member of the global dementia community. Whether one is living with dementia or one is a caregiver, we are all courageous, resilient, loving, and inspirational. My heart is with each and every one of you, wherever you are in Latin America, Africa, Asia, Europe, or in North America. We are tens of millions of persons around the world walking together on this road, and make no mistake about it, we are all true heroes. Next slide. Introducing my mom. I would like to begin by introducing my mom, Audrey, and her co-captain in life, my late father, Ken. They were high school sweethearts and were married just short of 60 years. The slide you see on the screen is her graduation photo from the University of Saskatchewan. She graduated with distinction from the College of Nursing and won the Ellis Prize for Outstanding Nursing Practicum. Next slide. Her professional life saw my mom working in the operating room, on the ward, instructing psychiatric nursing, going back to university in her mid-40s to complete a social work degree with a specialty in gerontology, and being appointed by the Blakeney government to be a founding member of the Saskatchewan Senior Citizens Council. Next slide. My mom retired from professional work in her early 50s to become a full-time wife and grandmother. Next slide. My mom's 90th birthday, November 17th, 2021. The next slide you see is my mom traveling on the dementia journey. What has changed? My mom has aged. However, her beautiful smile, gentle sense of humor, and warm desire for connection and friendship has stayed the same. In other words, the true essence of my mom hasn't changed at all. Next slide. How did we get here? In the fall of 2017, I noticed that my mom was acting differently. She became upset very easily and for no apparent reason. Furthermore, for the first time in my life, my mom began crying. This definitely was a red flag that something was wrong with my mom's health. Her family doctors, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Mohammed, and now Dr. Kamel, and her geriatric psychiatrist, Dr. Mahmoud, have always shown compassion, kindness, and concern for my mom's well-being. My mom's family doctor referred her to the Geriatric Evaluation and Management Unit at Saskatoon City Hospital. It was at this clinic where my mom was formally diagnosed with mixed dementia, both vascular and front temporal. Upon learning of the diagnosis from the health professionals at GEM, both my mom and I felt mounting pressure to place her in a nursing home or some other long-term care residence. At no point in the conversation was it entertained that perhaps my mom wanted to live with me. Similarly, my mom was never asked where she wanted to live. They kept mentioning that there were some really good nursing homes, residents out there, and that my mom would really like them. I could see the look of fear and distress in my mom's eyes. This encounter only confirmed that my mom and I were going to take a far more different approach to dementia care than what was being presented, a positive one. Next slide. Within days of my mom's diagnosis, I was contacted by the local Alzheimer's Society coordinator who offered support and informed us of upcoming workshops delivered by the Saskatchewan Alzheimer's Society. During the winter and spring of 2018, my mom and I drove into Saskatoon to attend at least 4 different workshops. In addition, I thoroughly and without reservation embraced the Saskatchewan Alzheimer's Society's moniker of living well with dementia. I bought books and searched the internet for articles that took a positive approach to living with dementia. I found the website Dementia Connections to be particularly illuminating and strength-based. It was on this website that I discovered Katrina Prescott's caregiving consulting service. I immediately contacted her and found Katrina to be an invaluable source of support. She offered concrete suggestions, and we shared the same philosophical core beliefs. I also started attending the monthly dementia support group meetings. This group and its dedicated and tireless organizer, Carol Dick, has provided a safe place to share our personal stories and where there are some tears, but mostly a great deal of laughter, friendship, and support. Next slide. Next slide.
Sorry, just having a technical difficulty here for a second. I'll try and switch it, Reid.
Okay, no problem. Nope, the other way. Yeah. Why did my mom stay at home? The universe puts you exactly where you're supposed to be. First, I would like to acknowledge that my mom and I are in a privileged space as I receive a good pension. I am not in a relationship, nor do I have children. Therefore, I can devote all of my love, attention, and energy to my mother. I visited long-term care facilities and other types of residences throughout the years, and based on what I'd seen, I wasn't comfortable or satisfied with the lived reality of the residents or staff. I imagine this is a common feeling for many. However, due to inadequate resources and a lack of support, a move to long-term care becomes the option, even if this is not the desired path. Next slide. Finally, if the roles were reversed, my mom would be the first person stepping up to take care of me. Next slide. Traveling on the dementia journey. Mom taught me from an early age to focus on the positive. As we know, dementia manifests itself differently in every person and progresses at very different speeds. Next slide. We have tried to the best of our ability to reconcile the changes and cognitive losses that have transpired since the late fall of 2017. We accepted the diagnosis, and from day one, our overarching goal has been to live well, to be as active as possible, and to experience moments of joy and happiness. We keep things very simple with daily, weekly, monthly, and annual routines. When challenging behaviors surface, such as swearing, throwing things, and hand biting, I've learned to acknowledge them, pray, and play a recording in my head of my mom previously telling me, "You're so good to me. I love you so much, and you'd make a good nurse." Finally, I know with certainty that these difficult moments are episodic and that they don't last forever. Next slide. I've learned that one must look for cues that point to needs, such as having to use the washroom, being thirsty or hungry. She is communicating to me that an unmet need requires attention. Also, my mom is hypersensitive to my emotional state. So if I'm not fully present or I'm emotionally stressed, it affects mom's mood. I've become more sensitive to my mom's emotional well-being, and in turn, these challenging behaviors are becoming less frequent and of shorter duration. Going for car rides or walks in the mall when it's cold and outside when it's warm are great to brighten her mood. Giving my mom physical attention, such as hand and neck massages, transitions her back to a peaceful state. We focus on feelings and affection. Next slide. When sleepless nights surface, I brush her hair and read the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse until she is ready to go back to bed. Both of us sleep in the next morning and have a longer nap in the afternoon. Next slide. Reid and mom's routine. So, daily, we wake up and have breakfast, read a chapter from a selected book, The Alchemist, The Three Questions, The Prophet, and The Little Prince, do some math flashcards. We go for a drive and then a walk in the mall, outside in the spring and summer, come back and have lunch, then we go for a drive, have a nap, go for a drive and a walk in the mall outside in the spring and summer, come home, have supper, then we play music from my mom's childhood in which she sings along to the music, go for a drive and a walk in the mall, and walk outside in the spring and summer, and then we sit on the Chesterfield, I brush her hair, massage her hands and neck, and then I put her to bed. Next slide. Weekly, every Saturday, we go to mom's hair appointment and then have lunch at Dejma's Curry House. Have Sunday supper with my younger sister and her partner. Monthly, visit my mom's sister-in-law in Saskatoon and go for lunch at Red Lobster. And my mom gets a pedicure and a manicure. Bi-monthly, next slide. Interacting with my nephew's children as they live with us for 3 days every 2 weeks. And then annual, daily trips to the lake. It's only 20 minutes away during the summer for supper with my twin sister from Toronto. August, we go to Christopher Lake for a fish fry with our dear friends Jerry and Rita Villeneuve. September, we travel to Ontario to be with my older sister in the Thousand Islands. And then in January, and this is aspirational, we take a sunny holiday. And since 2017, my mom and I have been to Cuba and 3 times to the Barbados. Next slide. Our communication. When my mom and I communicate with each other, we show love and affection. In addition, I give an inordinate amount of praise to her so that she feels special. When she wakes up in the morning, I tell her that I love her so much and that she's my hero. Throughout the day, I continue to tell her how much I love her and how proud of it I am of her. When I put my mom to bed, I thank her for the beautiful day. Another important observation that I've witnessed over the years is that whenever someone approaches my mom and says, "Hi, Audrey," it brings a beautiful, warm smile to her face. Furthermore, I consciously attempt to live in my mother's reality. Whenever she asks where her mom and dad are, I tell her that they went to the farm. Also, sometimes when we come home after a drive, she doesn't want to get out of the car. I tell her that this is the house that mom and dad bought for her because she is so special. This immediately brings a smile to my mom's face and she gets out of the car. Perhaps the most prevalent communication hurdle with my mom is when she begins repeating herself. I quickly learned that my mom is not going to change this characteristic, so I now move the conversation to a different topic and both of us become less frustrated. Next slide. A journey of love. It is my sincere wish that most of us are living a good life with dementia. My caregiving situation may be familiar to many, and to others, it may seem unique. I'm sharing our lived experiences to show other possibilities of positive care. This journey of walking together with and of taking care of our loved ones with dementia is far more successful and has a far greater life history than institutionalized care. Without exception, whenever my mom and I meet non-Westerners, they all comment and what a beautiful and honorable undertaking it is for a son, daughter, to take care of their mother or father. In fact, a former student of mine said to me last week that I was returning to the old ways. However, in order to assist those who care for people living with dementia, we need to insist that governments put more resources into supporting people to live at home and in our communities. I'm strongly convinced, after reviewing the research and along with anecdotal evidence, that persons living with dementia do far better in their own homes than in institutional settings. This paradigm shift will allow for all families, not just privileged ones, to directly participate in the care of a loved one, while knowing full well that one will have the resources and supports to make it possible. Once this happens, the dementia journey becomes much more manageable, enjoyable, and open to all kinds of beautiful moments. Yes, the dementia journey can be a long and difficult road. Yes, the dementia journey can be unpredictable. However, I feel that I've been truly blessed to accompany my mom as she travels on the final chapter of her life's passage. Our time together on this path has been one of the most beautiful gifts that I've ever received in my life. The shared experiences of living with dementia is teaching me to be more loving, more kind, more patient, and is showing me how to be truly present with others. I will be forever grateful for the opportunity of sharing these moments with my mom, and I will cherish them for the rest of my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Reid, as well, for sharing your story and your mom's story with us tonight. Now, everyone, after that, we are going to take a few minutes, and while you're thinking of questions to put, type into the question and answer. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the Alzheimer's Society. And so you can stretch, you can type, you can watch and listen and hear a little bit more. We'll just do a few slides and then we'll get into the Q&A period to finish up our evening tonight. So thanks again to all the presenters in sharing with us tonight. Okay, I'm just going to take a minute and share my screen again, so bear with me. Okay, can somebody let me know if it's looking correct or not?
We can't see anything yet, Karen.
Okay. I am going to, thank you. I am going to try again here.
Yep, that looks better.
How about that, Annie? Does that look okay?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much for letting me know that. All right, thanks everyone for bearing with me. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Alzheimer's Society. Okay, so the Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan is the province's leading dementia care and research charity. The vision of the Alzheimer's Society is to live in a world without Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. And the mission is to empower people to live well with dementia through the delivery of programs, services, advocacy, awareness, and research. A couple of things to note. A person does not need a formal diagnosis to be connected with us. We support those affected by Alzheimer's disease and other dementias and have resources and knowledge about many types of dementia. What can clients expect from the Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan? individual information and support available for both people living with dementia and their care partners, learning opportunities, including learning series courses to help people with dementia, their families and friends to live as well as possible with the disease. The courses offered build upon each other, covering the continuum of the disease. And then there's evenings of education like tonight. There's standalone topics presented by content experts. We also have support groups, which Reid was talking about tonight. Alzheimer's support groups offer a chance to, Claire was too, with the early stage support group too. What support groups do, at them, you can exchange information with others living with and affected by dementia, access the most current information, learn and share practical tips for coping with change, decrease feelings of loneliness and isolation, express feelings and be reassured that these feelings are normal, and find a sense of hope. We also have something called Minds in Motion. It's a 2-hour weekly program that combines physical activity and social activity for those with early stage dementia and a friend, family member, or care partner. And we offer that in Saskatoon, Regina, or virtually by Zoom. And connection to other organizations. This includes providing information on available services provided by the SHA, other government agencies, and lists of private or community-based organizations that help support people's dementia journey. Our shift to also offering virtual and online programming has increased our ability to provide additional programs to our communities. And if you have questions about dementia or need someone to talk to, you can call our dementia helpline. So it's province-wide toll-free, and there's the number listed on the screen. And Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 4:30 is when it's available. Let's talk briefly about dementia research. The keys to progress lie in investing in dementia research, revealing the mysteries of the diseases that cause dementia, and advancing diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. All research stimulates hope for the best life. The Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan funds research in partnership with Alzheimer's societies across Canada through the Alzheimer's Society Research Program. Saskatchewan research is vital to advance opportunities and enrich the best possible life for Saskatchewan people whose experience involves dementia. The Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan is accredited by Imagine Canada Standards Program for Excellence in Nonprofit Accountability, Transparency, and Governance. The Standards Program is a Canada-wide set of shared standards for charities and nonprofits. And did you know that 3 out of every $4 the Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan receives comes from donations? Donations inspire hope to provide early diagnosis, greater awareness for new medications and treatments, to provide strategies for coping, to provide care partners the confidence in their abilities, and to continue to serve Saskatchewan communities with support and resources that are reflective of your needs. Donations come in during events, as sponsorships, gifts left in wills, monthly donations, or as general donations to the Society. With Alzheimer's Society Resource Centers across Saskatchewan, in the 2022-23 fiscal year, we served close to 2,700 clients from 300 different Saskatchewan communities, and the numbers have definitely risen since that statistic. We have Alzheimer's Society Resource Centers supporting the following former health regions: in Cypress, Prairie North, Prince Albert Parkland, Regina Qu'Appelle, Saskatoon, Sun Country, and Sunrise. And before we get to questions, just please take a look sometime at our Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan website. It's listed there. And on that webpage, you can actually scroll down to our programs and events to see our upcoming event information. Please do not hesitate to contact, as I mentioned, our dementia helpline. And so it's there Monday. It's available Monday to Fridays between 8:30 and 4:30. And you can actually use that phone number, or you can email if you like. And so now with that, we are going to start our question period. So I'm just going to stop sharing and call back all our presenters. All right, we've got Annie, yeah, and Reid and Claire. Wonderful. Okay, thank you again, all of you, for sharing tonight. I just thought that was really meaningful, all of your different messages, and important and heartfelt and wonderful. So thank you so much. I'm going to just check quickly through the questions that were asked and try, and I've had helpers in the background sorting through as well. And if anyone still wants to add questions as we go, we can I'll keep looking at the list. So okay, so first question, actually I'll start with this one. Where will the slide deck be made available? And I did mention there will be Annie's presentation. We will have the slide, not the actual slides, but her slide notes, or the slide pages, I guess, sent to you in the next day or so. And so we just will have Annie's there, but this session was all recorded, so you can always refer back. In the next couple of weeks, we'll post on the Alzheimer's Society YouTube channel this whole evening. So you can always go back to that because it will be up on our YouTube channel. So that was the first question. The next one was just really to thank you all so much for your presentations. This was from a person that typed, they want to ask Annie how a person gets connected with a speech language pathologist. Is it a referral that's needed, or can a person refer themselves?
Yeah, that's a tough question because it kind of depends where you live, what services are available. Often you can self-refer and just make a call and ask for an assessment. So I would start by looking up just speech pathology services on the Saskatchewan Health Authority website and see if there's phone numbers. If that doesn't work out, my email is on my slides, so you could always send me an email and I can kind of let you know what those services are. And alternatively, there's also private services.
Thank you, Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, let's see. Okay. I will just move down here. Annie, as another question for you, as an SLP, a speech language pathologist, do you have suggested types of therapy or exercises to help someone with word finding difficulties?
Yeah, again, hard to say without kind of knowing the person for sure, but really kind of generally what we want is for people to stay as independent as possible. And unfortunately, that word finding, it's not something that just kind of comes and goes. So really just providing that support and giving kind of those minimal cues as you can. So if someone's having trouble thinking of the name of a family member, saying like, okay, let's think about they're married to Mary, their kids are this name, and kind of providing that information around the word to see if they're able to come up with the word. And if not, we never want people to get too frustrated. So kind of giving that help and providing that support as you can, and really practicing those important words. So even just reminiscing, doing those shared activities, the more we use words and talk about people and talk about places, often that's the easier it is to grab those words when we need them in a conversation in the future.
Thank you, Annie. This is really kind of cool. Here we've got somebody from Colombia that's special in Reid's life. This is Clara. I want to express my gratitude for all the presentations. They truly enrich those of us going through this situation, especially to Reid, who invited me to participate in this very enriching workshop for both my life and that of my father, who is currently battling Alzheimer's. So that's from Colombia. Thank you very much. And that's Clara. How cool. All right. Okay, I know somebody was just asking about something that I had mentioned about Minds in Motion. Does the person need a dementia diagnosis to attend the Minds in Motion program? And no, it would be, we recommend people for the program in the early stages of dementia. So if you think they might fit, you can always call our dementia helpline coordinator to talk, like to just ask us a little bit more, and we could connect you too with your first link coordinator in your area too, to just talk about it and see if it would be a good fit for the person. So that's just a little bit about that. I just wondered if any of you had great things to say tonight. Did you want to add anything more to share with the participants? Any thoughts that have risen during the night? If you want to, please do share.
I wanted to say thank you to Claire and Reid. It's a lot to do a presentation and even more to share about your personal stories. And it was really, I think, an amazing way for this presentation to all come together. So thanks for your time and for sharing.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks, Anne. Okay, let me take another bit. Okay. So this might be another speech question. Just is stuttering or being stuck on a sound like S, the S's in snake sort of could be an indication of dementia, or any parts of, yeah, I guess that's a difficult question maybe to answer, Annie, when there's not more information surrounding that, but just wondering if you had anything to mention with that.
Yeah. Well, like I said in the presentation, we kind of focused more on language, and that sounds like it's more speech related with the stuttering and prolonged sounds. So I'm not saying it can't be dementia. I can't really say without knowing that person more. I always tell people if they have those questions, good reason to try and find a speech pathologist, have an assessment, and go from there.
Thank you. Okay. I know there's a few other questions, but I think if we haven't answered them tonight, and there was just a few comments, and I appreciate them all, I think maybe you might want to reach out to us directly, and I had mentioned our dementia helpline number. But I think for tonight, I think we have really covered all angles, and I appreciate all of you, as I mentioned, just all of your different perspectives, and again, it's not always easy to do this, and so very, very brave of you all tonight, and thank you very much. I think I probably do have a couple things on my sheet to say before we wrap up, but I think we'll wrap up here tonight. I want to thank you again, Claire, Reid, and Annie, for speaking today. Also to our sponsors at SGI and Saskatchewan Telcare. And thank you to the team at the Alzheimer's Society behind the scenes who worked hard tonight to make this presentation run smoothly. So as I mentioned, the presentation tonight is recorded, so it will be posted in the next couple of weeks up on our Alzheimer's Society of Saskatchewan YouTube channel. So at that point, then you can check back over the presentations and get anything off the slide. But I will send in the next day or so to everyone that's watching tonight a short evaluation survey. It's a Survey Monkey. There's education resource links that Annie had mentioned tonight. There's communication ones. There's an All About Me resource, meaningful activity resources. So I'll send everybody the links to those. And then also the PowerPoint slide deck from Annie's presentation. And Yeah, I just want to thank everyone really for joining us tonight on such a beautiful evening too. So I'm glad you're on your computers or your phones, but it's wonderful to have you, and thank you again. I think we'll wrap up for the evening and say goodbye. Thanks again, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.